Hi everyone, my name is Eric Cardenas, and this is my sign name here. And today I'm going to talk about the similarities and differences between Mexico and Texas. So I was born and raised in southern Texas, maybe around a 10-minute drive from Mexico, so really I was very close to the border. And I grew up really between both countries. I had families in both countries and friends in both countries. But what was really interesting was I had never met a deaf person in Mexico. I had seen deaf people in Mexico, but they didn't have a language. And here in America, you don't see that as much. You see. So that's what I experienced when I grew up. And a few years ago, I went to a school for the deaf and I met deaf children in Mexico, not far from where I lived. And I was really in shock that they had really created quite a community there and how the community had grown. I mean, it wasn't fully stable, but I mean, my school that I had attended had been around for 40 or 50 years, but this was almost a brand new school. And like I said, I went to Mexico often, and I would interact with the deaf people there. So back in the 1960s and in the 1970s, you know how America had issues. Well, I could see a very similarity of how Mexican deaf people had those issues currently. Now, understand the access to services in Mexico are very limited for deaf people. So, I mean, so now a person who would get $80 a month, let's say in American dollars, a person who would get $80 American dollars on Social Security income is equivalent to what a deaf Mexican would get in Mexico, which is about 800 pesos. So keep in mind that's $80 a month for their income. It's in order to survive, to get food and all your necessities. That's really tough. But one thing that really impressed me was their sense of identity, their ID cards. Now, this applied to actually all individuals who had disabilities. They had different types of ID cards that showed their disability, which was really nice because they would get discounts. For example, for bus tickets, there was a 50% discount for anyone with a disability card. Or going into a museum or a zoo, there was all discounted rate for people with individuals. And it would based upon their income. It's not based upon their income. It's all regarding whether or not they have a disability, which was really nice. I mean, even though, let's say, I was a disabled person who makes a lot of money, it wouldn't matter, just as long as I have this disability card. So, now here in America, in Texas, we don't have any type of ID card system. Now, only if you're below the poverty line do you qualify for Social Security income. So when I was growing up in Texas, there was a lot of people who were from Hispanic and Latino descent in my hometown who were also Mexican, but were legal immigrants and illegal immigrants. But we had such a diverse community where I grew up in. Now, not until I came to the Rochester Institute of Technology and saw what a diverse community at college is like, meeting Italians and people of Arabic descent, I was in shock. So that fascinated me. I thought my hometown was diverse. So when I go back home, I try and teach my family, but they're very resistant about, and they don't really get the diversity because mainly where I'm from, it's mostly of Mexican descent. So I brought one of my friends here from Texas, and they thought it was very interesting. Now, one thing I shared with a presentation I did at my old school was that um, I'm a Hispanic who lives in southern Texas, and there's a lot of opportunities there, but they don't use it. Instead, they're just kind of have no motivation. They don't shoot for the stars. Um, they just are content with being on Social Security income. Compared to Mexico, in Mexico, I was completely amazed because they were very motivated and they had big dreams and they had goals. But at the same time, they don't have access to Social Security income. Um, they don't have access to interpreters. But, I noticed they go through such hardships, but they have more motivation. I mean, this is the same type of people. They're both Hispanic people. But now, how do you solve this type of problem? Well, I told the people I was giving this speech to that the people in Texas are not motivated to go to school or not do anything. They should give up their U.S. citizenship to Mexicans who are motivated to be successful. I mean, that just makes sense to me. I mean, they should lose their privileges. There's great opportunities here in America for free schooling and so on and so forth. So that's something that really disappointed me and something that I'm really passionate about.